So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need a political change, but we also need the resolve to resist. Hey, thanks for watching our live stream. I'm the host, David Krayden. In the meantime, have a look at some of these clips and take the opportunity, please, to like this broadcast, ring the bell, or subscribe.
And we're stepping up in every way we can because we know that Russia must win this war. That Ukraine must win this war.
But freedom is something you earn every day.
I don't know that the government currently has fiscal anchors.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need the resolve to resist. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. And this is David Krayden broadcasting to you live from our nation's capital. And when I come back, I'm going to try to explain what happened yesterday.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to...
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need the resolve to resist.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. Well, no. We'll do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
We're doing it live. So, what happened yesterday? It was all ready to do the interview with Katie at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Pacific, and she had incredible problems liaising with the police, and that took longer than we thought, and it just turned out to be a day from hell for Katie. And I just said, look, we'll do it another day, and it's more important that you have peace of mind and that you get through this day. So we talked late afternoon yesterday. Obviously, nothing is happening at the farm this weekend. It's Thanksgiving weekend. Even the CFIA, I think, is going to let up a wee bit for the Thanksgiving long weekend, not because they give a damn about Katie, her family, or the farmers, or the ostriches, or the farm, or private property, or any of these issues or things, but they know it's bad PR. They're getting bad PR from a variety of sources. Even the mainstream media is getting less inclined to just sort of write this farm off as some sort of anomaly or as extremists, with the exception of the CBC, which continues to listen to Angela Rasmussen, the so-called expert who doesn't have a political axe to grind, which is BS, of course. CBC continues to spew hatred, and I shouldn't say that word, okay. Spew misinformation? Oh, that's a bad word too. That's what they always accuse people like me of doing. Misinformation, disinformation, and hatred. And of course, can't prove any of that. But the CBC continues to work with the government, with the CFIA on this story. They're working hand in hand with them, putting out stories about financial difficulties the farm is having, all nonsense. Every farm has loans. As a farmer pointed out to me the other day in an email, who flagged the story for my attention. And he said, I read the story, he said, and I was just disgusted that the CBC would lower themselves to this level. And he says, every farmer has loans. It's part of agriculture, doing the business. And, Katie has responded to it, but the more she has to respond to these horrible stories, the less time she has to continually nail down the issue here, which is all about freedom of speech, freedom of and private property, the sanctity of private property, the sanctity of owning your own livestock and not having the government kill it, and the sanctity of your home. The government has occupied this person's home now for almost 3 weeks. Why is this going on? We'll talk about this more later, but I wanted to lead off with that because I'm frankly just appalled at this Carney government. We've got anywhere from 50 to 100 RCMP officers still on that farm doing what? We've got the CFIA running around in their jumpsuits, their costume, hazmat costumes, trying to corral ostriches. Why? They have been told that there's no kill until the Supreme Court makes a decision. So what the hell are they doing? Obviously, they're trying to weaken and sicken the ostriches and do their dirty work that way. That's what's going on. So I want to read from a letter here. And thank you, all of you, for the tips you send. I'm going to spend tomorrow afternoon going through some of these news tips that you've sent and seeing what we can do with them. Thank you for all of you who send me letters, emails of support, especially Susie Sanderson. Thank you. You email a lot, and I don't mind. Thank you. I need it. I was feeling really low yesterday. You know, I'm really feeling low, and you feel like you give it all and you get very little back in terms of exposure on YouTube, because I am being suppressed. But I'll keep doing what I need to do. I'll keep doing what I have to do. And what I have to do is fight for free speech and all of the issues that Katie Pasitne and her family are fighting for. I'm fighting with her on this. And she'll be on the show next week. But I want to read this. This is from Wayne Hartley. I hope you don't mind me reading your name on the air, Wayne. And he said, caught your impassioned latest interview on Redacted regarding the ostrich farm and Tamara and Chris sentencing. So sorry that you woke up only after you took the jabs, but better late than never, I guess. I do love your passion for truth and equal passion against corruption. Well, I thank you for Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. So many people simply fail to understand who their real enemies are these days and the sinister agenda they have for humanity. The future of the whole entire pharmaceutical sickness industry hinges on those ostriches. Exactly, Wayne. The manipulated false/positive PCR tests, the quarantines, the fear-mongering, the vaccines, the food supply reduction, the land grabs, the resulting new legislations, the money trail, the fallout, the mandates, the emergency powers, the hijacked media, the UN expansion, the lockdowns, medical incarceration, banking, religion, agriculture, future travel, and absolutely every other aspect of the military-industrial complex agenda. Wow. I think Wayne touched them all here. You're a great journalist and advocate for decency and human virtue. I think so, Wayne. Thank you. Which our world certainly needs more than ever. Enjoy your podcast presentations and reporting more and more. So keep up your fine journalism, and thank you for your passion and dedication. I don't often read letters on the air, but I needed that letter this day, and I thank you for sending it when you did. It was much appreciated. Now, want to talk about Andrew Lawton, who appears to be, I think, the only MP who's really going after the liberal censorship in the fashion that we need. So obviously, Pierre Poilievre is behind this, because he would not be doing what he's doing unless Pierre Poilievre specifically approved of it. I think we need to hear more from Pierre Poilievre. But I always say, the Conservative Party of Canada does something praiseworthy and noteworthy. I praise it and I note it. So here we are. This is Andrew Lawton facing off with, I think, the worst. Well, no, it's hard to get worse than the public safety minister. Maybe number 2 in terms of the worst member, the most abysmal member of the Carney cabinet, Sean Fraser.
Being with us today. C9 makes reference specifically with hate symbols to public spaces. Just to confirm, does that include the internet?
Generally speaking, the law will apply equally online as it does in real communities.
So this bill will affect what people can say and write on the internet?
Just in the limited circumstances where there is the willful promotion of hatred against
It will apply
someone.
to the internet. The internet is within the jurisdiction of...
It would be possible that someone could commit a hate crime on the internet, certainly.
So, building off of Mr. Baber's points about the lower threshold for the definition of speech, there is, under this law, assuming Bill C9 passes, something that might not be legal to say today on the internet. Or it might be legal to say on the internet, could actually be illegal in the future under C9, could it not?
No, that's entirely inaccurate, and I say that with no judgment to your perspective, but let me explain. The only circumstance where you could imagine some online comment attracting scrutiny under this law would attach to behavior that is criminal today but would be punished less severely. The symbols piece that you pointed to, for example, is attached only to the willful promotion of hate. This is not a blanket symbols ban. The willful promotion of hate is a crime today, but we want to recognize a distinct charge where that same behavior uses certain symbols of hate to bring a higher degree of culpability. So there is no new human behavior that would attract the scrutiny.
I understand, but I'm building off of the discussion earlier on the definition. Is your view that the change in wording, and there was a change in wording, you made a deliberate decision to change the definition that was spelled out in Keekstra and reaffirmed in Watcott. Is your view that your definition in C9 will not capture anything beyond what is currently captured right now by the hate definition?
The definition was an attempt to codify, and the reason that there was a...
This is a yes or no question, Minister. Is there at all a lower threshold or a broader net on hate in Canada after C9 if it passes?
My view on the definition question, because the offences I would give a different answer to you for, but on the definition, my view is that it codifies the same behaviour that is there today, and it was meant to provide clearer guidance to law enforcement in the criminal code to apply the existing standard that has been recognized by the Supreme Court. Because
the same arguments that are being used by you and your government to push Bill C9 to protect people against hate, which on the surface sounds incredibly noble, but these arguments are the same arguments that have led to the United Kingdom having police literally knocking on people's doors over their tweets. So what guarantee can you give Canadians that we are not headed down that very road, especially in the context of other priority areas identified by you and your government, such as the Online Harms Act, which was introduced twice, actually, in the last two parliaments?
So this legislation is not identical in kind to the reforms that have been put in place in the UK, and we've actually looked at their experience and see that there are real challenges with how it's played out. For example, we've got a different approach where some jurisdictions around the world have adopted a more blanket glorification that could attract the scrutiny of a liking a Facebook post, for example, and we chose a different path. We instead tried to be very clear that we would not interfere with the charter rights of Canadians to freely express themselves, but at the same time make it easier to lay charges where hate crimes are committed today. To the extent that you think there is a better way to clarify and codify the existing definition, do know that I believe in Parliament, and I don't care which party comes forward with these amendments. If it creates multi-partisan buy-in to codify the test, that's okay by me. Can you guarantee that if C9 passes, no Canadian will end up being charged because of something they've posted on Twitter or Facebook? Well, if they commit the crime of willfully promoting hatred against another person. A crime with a definition that you're changing. So, but it's possible that they could be convicted for what they willfully promoting hate online today. So certainly I would hope if someone commits a crime in the real world or online that they would face the appropriate criminal penalty if in fact it's captured by the code.
There you have it, right there. That's the government. That's the face of the government. They want more hate crimes legislation and want to lock people up for what they say. Hatred is in the ear of the beholder. Government wants to call anything it doesn't agree with hatred. And you know what's going on here. You know what's going on.
We had in my riding a very disturbing case a few weeks ago where someone had mowed a swastika, a Hakenkreuz, I should say, into their lawn and was charged under the existing criminal code definition. They displayed a symbol. It was found to be willfully promoting hate. Law enforcement and the Crown agreed that they could lay that charge. So why is your bill at all necessary when we already have existing powers, which, to Mr. Housefather's point earlier, are simply not being enforced as often as they could be?
This is an important question. I'll answer it very quickly. When you have the willful promotion of hate, the person who's convicted of that could still be convicted, but also of a second charge, the willful promotion of hate using hate symbols, which would attract a greater degree of culpability and potentially a greater penalty, recognizing that the use of hate symbols, when when you're willfully promoting hate, can cause greater damage to both the individual and the entirety of the community. So I don't find these points to be inconsistent with one another, but instead that behavior could potentially face an additional charge with a more serious penalty because of the manner in which a person chose to promote hate to cause more damage to an affected community.
So you're going to be afraid to open your mouth. This is Bill C9. This is Bill C8. These are the two censorship bills in front of the House of Commons right now. And the Online Harms Act is coming back sometime in the fall. So beware, good people, about what's happening here. So they want more laws. This is going to be a judicial quicksand, because they'll get you whether you're coming or going. They'll get you not just because of what you say might be determined or assessed by somebody as being hateful, but the symbols are going to be now assist. We're going to be afraid to post anything in this country. We have got the Conservative Party should be coming down and say, we're going to eradicate all hate speech laws in this country, all of them, because they are an infringement on free speech. Free speech exists to protect speech that could be construed as hatred. That's what it's there for. God help this country. We've got morons like Sean Fraser leading us into perdition. Here's where we're going, folks. Here's where we're going. Here's a typical scene in the UK, which, of course, yeah, in the UK, they've got plenty of hate speech laws. And the police now would rather knock on somebody's door at 2:20 in the morning and harass them and potentially arrest them for something they posted on social media than they would to track down drug dealers and assaulters and killers and all of those. What is that called? Well, it's called a narco-tyranny. We talked about this extensively on this broadcast. That's the kind of government we have. It has a soft on crime approach to real criminals, but it arrests the enemies of the state. And here's what the UK has come to.
Please stay there. The reason I'm filming you is because I'm sick of the harassment. Every time I open the door to one of your officers, they are filming me. So now you know how it feels. Now it is 2:30 in the morning. Can I ask why for a second time tonight you are disturbing me and my son in my home?
Yeah, because there's I've been made aware there's videos that have been posted onto social media, including those that were made this morning.
This morning? What made this morning?
And of my officers that have been round this evening.
Right, and?
So I'm here to kindly ask that you remove said videos from social media. If you do
no, I don't think I've broke the law, so I don't think I will.
If you... And also, I want to advise you that you might well be committing offences under the Malicious Communications Act, okay?
Okay, well, I'm sure Dame Diana Johnson will explain that to me when she sees the video, won't she? She is a qualified barrister. She wasn't a director of social services, so she'll understand my case well. At this point, my son reported abuse. You failed to protect him. He was...
remove the videos from social media.
Good night, officer.
And I'm advising you...
And I'm asking you to leave now, please.
Offences under the Malicious Communications Act.
Good night, officer.
Having said that, I'll leave you to it. Thank you.
Good night, officer. And may I ask, please do not come back to my house and disturb again.
We'll probably need to speak to you tomorrow.
I don't think you will.
What up?
I haven't committed any offences,
what a piece
officer.
Of turd this
so
guy
you needn't be speaking to me at any point.
Go sit down. Go back to your police station.
I don't think I have. You came to my house recording me. I have a right to record you. This is my home. If you don't want to be recorded, don't knock on my door.
And the a-hole doesn't want to be recorded. Look at that fat turd. Go back to your police station, sit on your fat ass, and actually try to investigate some real crimes. This is the very definition of a police state, where they knock on your door in the early hours of the morning just to harass you. He didn't even charge her with anything. That's coming, I'm sure. As soon as she slips up and somehow violates the hate speech laws in Great Britain, they'll come for her. That's the kind of country Mark Carney and Sean Fraser imagine Canada becoming. where they come to your door, this police come to your door, threaten you, harass you, intimidate you, tell you to take something down because some some cop thinks it's violated the hate speech laws. This is just that's little video. What more can you want? That's what the UK has become. It is a nightmare, and its people are sinking deeper and deeper into authoritarian rule. Now, I have Mark Carney talking about these bills. Let's have a listen to this.
C2 remains in Parliament, and as you also surely know, the bill contains all these sweeping lawful access powers for intelligence agencies and police. Now, I'm curious, are you comfortable with the notion that police or intelligence can go to any service provider, it can be doctors, counselors, child therapists, pharmacists, and obtain information about if someone is a client, since when, where they obtain those services without a warrant?
The two things. One is the bill has been divided.
So we're talking about Bill C2, which is a little bit of censorship and a lot of surveillance. That's what Bill C2 is all about. The Conservatives apparently were able to get at least one of the outrageous elements of this bill, that of allowing Canada Post to open anybody's mail if they deem to be potentially involved with money laundering or terrorism or something like that. I think the Conservatives were able to get that removed. They were able to get that part removed. It's still a bad bill.
Into C2 and C12, what you just referred to were issues in C12. So we're talking about the same. No, it's divided into C2 and C12. There are two processes. And Parliament will work through, including through the committee stage, and ultimately through a vote. What we have a responsibility as parliamentarians, as the government, is to protect our communities and protect our borders. And where there is merited, and there is probable cause, plausible expectation, potential illegal trafficking of, for example, and this is a case, unfortunately, in our society, of precursors and components of fentanyl, which kills thousands of Canadians every year, even though, despite the efforts, kills thousands of Canadians every year, and is shipped through Canada Post when it's operating. There is merit, in the view of law enforcement, and in the view of being consistent with charter rights, that there is an ability to take those measures to save lives in our community. Now, this is legislation. This is Parliament operating as it should. Legislation's being debated. It's being adjusted. The split in the bill allows certain elements to proceed at a certain pace and others to be interrogated.
And what lessons have you taken from the fact that the first bill that your government ever tabled already had to be watered down and retabled?
I take the following lessons from the legislative record of this government. This is a government that cut taxes on day one. This is a government that passed the most comprehensive and what will be seen in the fullness of time impactful economic measure in decades, which is the One Canadian Economy Act. This is a government that's moving through legislation at a minority parliament at pace and with breadth, in working constructively with other parties in that minority parliament. So I'll give you two examples. The One Canadian Economy Act had bipartisan support. The split that you're asking about of the process for Bill C2, now C2 and C12, is a result of discussions with opposition parties in Parliament, work at the committee stage. This is Parliament working as it should, and this is what Canadians expect, that the government and all members of Parliament are working on behalf of Canadians to move things forward.
So without actually saying it, Mark Carney is acknowledging that the Conservatives did get some amendments on that bill. And that's, I think, very, very important. Now, Let's have a listen to this, because during the election campaign, Pierre Poilievre said repeatedly that a Conservative government would never institute a home equity tax. The Liberal government's doing it through the back door. Let's watch this.
Existence of persons other than the taxpayer who share interest in the real estate. So, not just if you're a realtor or you work in trades or you work in financing, what does your spouse do? Okay, level beyond that. How many people get gifts or have co-signers in mortgages in Canada? Okay, so they get their mom or dad to co-signer on that. What do they do as a profession? Are they in real estate? Are they in trades? Are they in financing? They want to disallow your principal residence exemption for that. Okay, so people are saying, it's like, well, we don't want to lose your principal residence exemption. It's like, guess what? You're already losing it. Administratively, they're already starting to block this. Okay. The nature of the occupation of the other persons referred to in I above, as well as their stated intentions and courses of conduct. Okay, so if someone lent you some money, so we already talked about what their profession is, that other person, but if they lent you some money, what was their intentions? Well, most of the time when people lend money, it's to make a rate of return. Inherently, it's to make a rate of return. That's the goal of it, right? And so, but that in itself, the intentions of the other person on the title, that can block your principal residence exemption. Okay. Factors which motivated the sale of the real estate. I want to focus on those factors that motivated the sale, because this one, when you think about it, it's absurd. It's like in this case, the client sold because it wasn't going to work for their growing family. They weren't when they started to renovate it. They weren't totally happy with the build quality and felt that they couldn't really complete the renovations to any standard that would accommodate their family moving forward. But like, why do people normally sell real estate? Normally, people sell real estate to realize a gain. I mean, the whole term starter home. It's to get into the property market, to get a bit of equity, hopefully get a bit of appreciation, and sell it someday to move on. But that in itself, CRA wants to say it makes you ineligible to use your principal residence exemption. So, I mean, the only reason you could use your principal residence exemption is because you have to move away for a job or you die, I guess. That's the, because if the factors that motivated the sale, if your price had gone up and you sell because the price has gone up, well, hey, you sold because the price went up, so obviously we should tax you on that. I mean, this is the absurdity that CRA is using. This isn't my speculation. This is actually what's on the CRA audit documents that we've received, okay? And then the evidence that the taxpayer and or associates had dealt extensively in real estate, okay? So let's say you're building a real estate portfolio, okay? As this client was, he was building a real estate portfolio, and you're paying tax on those gains, you're paying rental income on those gains, and you still need a place to live for yourself. You still need a place to live for yourself. And so think about like everyone, how many people own a rental property in Canada? It's like, that's a common thing. Owning a rental property is fairly common. But that in itself, they could say, well, you've had, two properties and one of them was used exclusively for income. So obviously this one was used exclusively for income too. Like, this is the absurdity and vagueness of this, that basically you could rule with these criteria that you could make the absurd argument that virtually any disposition of real estate in Canada is taxable. And like I said, they're not just saying it's a capital gain. They're saying that it's business income. So not taxed on 50% of the gain, taxed on 100% of the gain, directly in income, retroactively 3 years back.
Now, let's listen to what Pierre Poilievre had to say about this.
Never allow a tax on home equity. Period. Full stop. Not going to happen.
Hi, my name's Tracy Pepe. I'm the ex-chair of CARP Brampton. And I wanted to ask, because the Liberal think tank has been using Generation Squeeze for some information. And they have been suggesting, obviously, to old age security to roll it back, but also to use the taxes on our home equity. So my question to you is, I think you've said you are not rolling back old age security, but will you not put taxes on the equity that we have saved in our homes?
Two questions. One, we will protect old age security, GIS, and CPP. You will continue to get your inflation indexed benefits starting at age 65. Second, we will never allow a tax on home equity, period, full stop. Not going to happen. But you're right to raise the question, because weirdly, the Liberals put a question on your tax form to find out what primary residence you have. I don't know why they need that information. If it's not a taxable asset, then why does the tax department need to know about it? The Liberals have also been using your tax dollars to fund studies advocating a tax on home equity, so that if you sell your home to downsize or move into a senior's home, then you would have to pay full capital gains tax on that amount. That would be a crippling policy decision for our seniors. And just Saturday, Mr. Carney came out with a platform that requires $130 billion of brand new spending above and beyond what Justin Trudeau had already projected. They're pledging to, if you add up Trudeau's planned spending and Carney's new promises, it's $250 billion of new debt that they would add if they're elected to a fourth term. Now, I ask you a question. What happens when the finance officials tap them on the shoulder and says, you're out of money, you need to go find more? Well, they're going to go out and they're going to tax your home equity. They're going to go after your house, and they'll lie and deny, and they'll never admit it before an election. Of course not. But when have they ever, the tax increases Liberals have brought in, when have they ever admitted it before the election happens? They do it after they no longer need your vote, but still need your money. Bottom line is, Liberals will tax your home equity if you give them the chance in this election. We will never let that happen. Your home belongs to you, and when you sell, you should keep every single penny for yourself and your kids.
My mic was muted. You bet. That's what we need to hear about this issue. And the Liberals are doing it through the back door, like so many other things. So what do we have right now? What kind of a country are we facing? I want to share this with you, because this is I find the headline to be absolutely incredible. Now get this. Get this. Carney announces long-awaited automatic tax filing. Yeah, and make school food program permanent. Were you waiting for this? Now the Liberals say that they're going to automatically file taxes. The Canada Revenue Agency has become both the tax collector and the tax filer. Is there a conflict of interest there? Oh, but it's all about making sure the poorer people get all the benefits they need, because they tend not to file taxes because they know they don't have to pay any. Where does low income begin and end? So my question. Because a lot of us feel like we're low income because we can't afford to live in this country anymore. The taxes are hitting us from all directions. Income tax is onerous in this country, especially if you're an independent business. You're paying incredible amounts on CPP, which of course is a Ponzi scheme, which you'll never get back a tenth of what you're putting into it. But here's, the Liberal government will begin rolling out a long-awaited automatic tax filing system for the income Canadians, for low-income Canadians, and make the National School Food Program permanent in advance of a federal budget. Oh, that's good news. Government's, that is incredible. But I want to show you something else here, because we what kind of a country do we have right now? Think about this for a second. What kind of a country do we have? We have a country where a prime minister is making money off the government through his 103 different conflicts of interest. We have a country that is just off the rails. We have a public safety minister who is incompetent and who has admitted privately that the gun grab is all about persecuting farmers, appeasing Quebec, and it won't work. The cops are saying the same thing. So I just want to go through a few of these things on here. You know, here's the CFIA at work again, looking like a clown show with their little hazmat costumes on because they want you to believe these birds are sick and pose a public health risk. So this is a charade. It's a play. It is obscene. But there they are, running around looking like incompetent idiots. Just exactly what they are. Exactly what they are. Good one, Chris. That is one of Chris Barber. CBC and the Liberals are afraid of Big Red. So a little more, but Sean Foyt noticed that that Antifa guy who went berserk in a Montreal church was apparently in the Canadian military. Yeah. Drea Humphrey, great reporting as ever on the ostrich crisis, which is what I call it, because this is a crisis for private property in this country. And the RCMP wanted to do this for Katie, to fly a drone over the farm and count for every last ostrich. The CFIA told them they couldn't do it. And the RCMP officer who offered to do it was reprimanded. So that's the kind of country we live in. We've got a bureaucratic organization running the show, telling the RCMP what to do. It's absolutely incredible. You know, more anarcho tyranny here. The Crown wanted to put Tamara Leach in jail for 7 years and Chris Barber for 7 years. Here's a case of SA. I have to be careful saying the word, although YouTube's getting a little more lenient about vocabulary. 28 months is what the Crown asked. Just over 2 years. Incredible. It just never ends. This is an outrage. You know, just an outrage. And the Irish government has informed the EU that they will not comply with its demand to force hate speech laws on the public. Good for Ireland. Love to hear it. Yeah, and there's Mark Carney again, trying to explain what's going on. We'll be watching this. Mick reposted, or actually, no, he posted this after seeing my redacted appearance. And he says, David Krayden just saw your show on Redacted. You stated the CFIA, it should be, was following UN guidelines. Apparently, they are defying those as well, in my humble opinion, Mick writes. So 42-day rule, look at this. They're supposed to be waiting 40 days, check and clear. What the hell is the CFIA doing? Just because they're incompetent. All they can do is kill animals. Part of Ray, replying to David Krayden, Katie Passitney, and Ostrich Farm, BC. I just discovered you, David Krayden. You're a good man. Keep up the good work. You have at least one American respect. At least one American's respect. I think that should be. I tend to think before it's all said and done, Canadians like you yourself and Americans like me will need to stand arm in arm. No surrender, no retreat. Oh, here, I love this ostrich meme. Sorry, the symbol of a Canadian revolution. That's what the ostriches have become, folks. Chris Barber complimented me on my redacted appearance of the day. Thank you so much, Chris. Amazing reporting. And I encourage you to read my human events article that went up yesterday on the ostrich farm. This is getting huge attention around North America. And we got to keep the pressure up on the government. Keep the pressure up on the government. Tamara Leach notes that, you know, the federal government, the Liberal government tried to do everything possible to stop the Freedom Convoy. Ultimately, they really couldn't. And all they could come up with was mischief. And that's, that is absolutely outrageous. Also did an article for The Blaze this week, and that's about that. Still trying to get more confirmation on my report the other day about Donald Trump reprimanding Mark Carney about the Ostrich crisis at their summit. We have some information. I want to give more. Any of you out there have any more information about this, please pass it along to me or to Katie. And Katie and I are working very closely on this issue. We continue to do so. So if anybody out there, by the way, claims that they have the inside track on this and are the exclusive media source for this, and at least one agency, one independent agency is doing it. No, it's not Rebel News. Rebel News is always play fair. Nobody has the exclusive rights to the story, okay? This is Canada's story. I've been covering the story since April. I think Rebel has as well. And Viva Fry has been covering this for months. Some of the people who just glommed onto this in the last couple of weeks didn't give a damn about this story a couple of months back. Mark and Jason Levine, great work you're doing as well. You're interviewing scientists, you're interviewing agricultural experts to say that this is a farce, this has to end. And that's probably all I need to show you of that today. And hopefully we'll see Katie again. Probably not tomorrow, but on Monday. I'll get her on the show Monday. And wanted to ask you all. Yeah. Canadian Taxpayers Federation. This is more about the home equity scam. It's aimed at helping low income. Oh yes, okay. No, this is about the CRA doing your taxes for you if you're a low income. Of course, it'll start that way, as Canadian Taxpayers Federation points out. Yeah, it'll start with the low income, and it'll move into middle income, and then the CRA will completely take over. Remember how they were hiring so many more agents? 6 times bigger than America's. Canada's tax agency is 6 times bigger than the IRS, even though the Americans have a population 10 times our size. Wow. Look at that. Thank you to my producer for sticking that in, because I was supposed to look up that number before I went on the air today, and I did not. So, but isn't that incredible? I used to always tell people that compared to the IRS, the CRA was a lot more lenient, a lot more polite, a lot less easy to deal with. That is increasingly becoming a thing of the past, just like everything about Canada that you remember is a thing of the past. 6 times as many agents as the IRS. I mean, people in the IRS has always been the butt of jokes in the U.S. because it's so tyrannical. It goes after people. It's a ravenous organization that will garnish people's wages at the drop of a hat. It will go after people's income unblinkingly. The CRA is going to become worse than the IRS when you get 6 times as many bureaucrats, because they got to find work to do. And that means persecuting the enemies of the Liberal government. That's what they'll do next. You bet you. That's exactly what they'll do next. Now, let's have a few moments with Katie here. And oh, by the way, I want to put this bug in your ears today. In the UK, people from the left and the right are coalescing around the free speech issue, which, of course, people like Jimmy Dore have been encouraging in the United States. Nobody's really encouraging that in Canada. We need to find people who are supposedly on the left who still believe in free speech. And we need to work with everybody to stop these censorship bills, because everybody's going to suffer from these censorship bills. But here's my idea. In the UK, they are putting Keir Starmer's face on the old Big Brother emblem from 1984, and I believe it's from the 1952 film, not the 1984 film, because that symbol is so recognizable. It's been used on book covers over the years. But let's do a meme with Mark Carney's face on the Big Brother poster. I encourage you, all of you out there who are adept at AI, I hate to use AI at all, who have artistic design inclinations, please send me your ideas. I'll put them on and give you full credit. But we need to do this. We need to identify Mark Carney with Big Brother, because that's exactly what he is. I got a little bit of clips here with Katie. This one's a couple of days old, but it's very pertinent.
You know, it's been a concern of ours, numbers of our animals. And obviously, you know, you want to see if 500 head of cows, and CFIA is in there, you want to make sure you still got 500 head of cows. Well, it's like the wolf is in with the sheep. And you just want to make sure they have lied to us, so that trust is really gone, that eroded trust. And we want to just have visuals on the animals. So we had a talk with the RCMP last night. They were wonderful, and they were going to put up a drone and do a count for us, because they're here to keep the peace. And they thought, what a great way. Of course, we can go up there and we're going to count them for you, and we'll get you a number, because that puts you guys at ease, your minds at ease, while this is all going on and an interim stays in place. And today they were reprimanded for that.
We got big shit from the CFIA.
So let's finish it. This is the problem with Canadian Food Inspection Agency, is that excessive freedom, that no oversight, and they get to kind of make those rules as they go. And they got upset with the RCMP trying to do a very good thing for our family and just let us know where we were at, what our numbers are out there, put our minds at ease so we could just rest while everything is going on, and we proceed with the Supreme Court decision, waiting if they'll hear us. And what this really shows is that they are above the law. And they said that was impeding with their investigation. That is not impeding, that is transparency. And they cut our cameras in the beginning. They put tape over our cameras. They've been hiding a lot of things through the back, and we don't know why, but God will, he knows why. And at the end of the day, truth always comes out, and that's what will happen here. But so that was really disappointing. It wasn't just disappointing for our family, it was disappointing for the RCMP, who wanted to do a job and help our family just have our minds at ease.
And so, Sergeant Gregor owned it. He came right to the house and he said, you know what, guys, I wanted to do this, and I got ripped out, and I got, he said F-bombs were flying from the CFIA, and they were saying, hey, like, and I think really what it was is they see it as the RCMP, not taking a side, staying neutral and saying, we're here for all parties, not just one side. So, I mean, there was a lot of sincerity in his apology.
Absolutely. So I thank you to him. He wanted to do the right thing, and here again, he's under the cloud of Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So again, this is great opportunity for change, right? Like, we're seeing layers of this Band-Aid is just slowly ripping off, and it does hurt, but we're exposing something. We're trying to create change that's going to be beneficial for all of us, and also for this organization, this agency, that hopefully we can have a better agency at the end of this that's going to help Canadians, and it's going to be beneficial for all of us.
Yeah, thank you for that, Kepka. And Katie, keep up the courageous work, and have a great Thanksgiving. And we'll be talking to you later today. See, just to make sure everything's okay. You can't take anything for granted in this. But here's my concern. Here's Katie's concern. When we were talking on Thursday, she's very concerned that there's been a substantial reduction in the number of ostriches, 30, 40 perhaps. What happened to them? Is the CFIA doing its unofficial cull of the ostriches by deliberately mistreating. We know the CFIA was responsible for the death of the one bird that we know about, Spirit, because they did not give the bird the material it needed to survive, the electrolytes. They deliberately dumped them so the bird could not get them. How many other birds have been lost? There is, based on what Katie's heard from sources, there's been a substantial, her word, reduction in the number of birds that are still alive. And we need to know, because if the CFIA is doing an unofficial cull here, killing through neglect and animal cruelty, this needs to stop. We need to get the CFIA off of that farm. The occupation of that farm must stop now until the Supreme Court can at least rule, or until we get saner minds in Ottawa ruling that this is over. This is not doing anybody any good. It's making Canada more authoritarian. Not that they give a damn about that, because that's their goal. They want Canada to be more authoritarian, but they don't want Canada to be a laughing stock. And the bad public relations that's coming out of this, from new media, independent media, and even some mainstream media, is absolutely killing. Is absolutely killing the bureaucrats in Canadian government personnel who are doing nothing but making life miserable for this farm and the farmers on it. So it's my concern. It's not good enough just to say, "Oh, we've got the Thanksgiving long weekend and everybody can relax." Katie knows she can't relax. She knows that this is still a clear and present danger, because the CFIA is clearly doing something behind the scenes. They're hiding their activities. They didn't want the RCMP to be transparent. They don't want to be transparent. They did not want the RCMP to document how many birds are left, because they have been up to no good. It's clear to me, clear to anybody with any grain of common sense, what the CFIA is doing here. They're deliberately lying, and they're deliberately falsifying what they're doing, and they are essentially carrying on with their deadly mandate, with or without a decision from the Supreme Court. They're just doing it in a different way, a different form. That's unacceptable. Keep the pressure up. Keep the pressure up this Thanksgiving long weekend. We need to get the CFI off of that farm. The occupation of that farm by government must cease, must stop. And the CFIA should be charged with animal cruelty. We cannot rest until we move against this. I would say this is an illegal occupation. And as somebody pointed out, they're doing it because the United Nations says so, but they're not even doing it in accordance with UN guidelines and rules. They're violating those too. This is completely unacceptable. And I can't overemphasize how completely unacceptable this is. And as I've said dozens of times on this show and other programs, this is not just about how many, 300, 350, 399, how many birds are left. Not just about those ostriches. It's about the sanctity of private property, the sanctity of a farmer owning their livestock, the sanctity of a farmer not having the government occupy their farm and the house. Katie can't even go in to her neighbor's house, which is owned by a family member, without the approval of the CFIA. That is so incredibly stupid. We'll have more about that tomorrow. Thanks for watching today, folks. I just want to show you the merchandise, and I'll be back with some concluding remarks. Thanks for watching today, folks. God bless you all. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9:30. Yeah, half hour early because of church. Thanks so much for being a part of this broadcast and this experience. Keep fighting for Katie. Keep fighting for freedom. Keep fighting for Canada, if we can still do that in this country. Bye for now. See you tomorrow.